Okay, so I'm analyzing my PowerPoint here using the Universal Design for Learning and the Handbook for Accessibility. This is my PowerPoint here. It's part of the Project Lead the Way series that we do in school. You can see a couple of the slides here. They look really nice. I found definitely some concerns. I'm going to go over them here. But the PowerPoint itself is pretty nice. It's fairly well designed. It met a lot of the guidelines, a lot of the handbook guideline points and that kind of stuff. But I definitely found my issues. So this, like I said, this PowerPoint is from Project Lead the Way. It's used during a 3D modeling unit that we do. It walks students through creating a drawing in Inventor. We use a program called Autodesk Inventor, and the PowerPoint is one in a series of PowerPoints to show them how to create drawings. Reading the course material. Our course material, I was initially more concerned about the accessibility of the software actually itself, let alone the PowerPoints and the handouts. The software makes heavy use of the keyboard and mouse and a combination of those, heavy fine motor skills, that kind of stuff. The interface is very visually busy as well. I would show you a copy. I don't have it here on my home computer, but it is very visually busy. Simply analyzing the software using the UDL guidelines shows that students with accessibility concerns will be challenged. I can certainly modify my instruction to cover Principle 1, but there's little room for providing accommodations for Principles 2 and 3 of the Universal Design for Learning. When I read through the accessibility guidelines, it got even worse for comparing my PowerPoint. I looked at the PowerPoint used in the teaching software, this PowerPoint that I have up here. I followed the steps to view the outline view and saw that, in fact, all the text from the slides appears in the outline view. So when I did view here and I did outline view, and as it came up, I could see that all of my text in here matched my text in the slide itself. So that was good. That met one of the first handbook issues there. Next, I verified that the PowerPoint used standard PowerPoint layouts, which provided a standardized view throughout. So far so good. If I go back to my normal view, you can see that all of these are a heading followed by text followed by an image. So throughout the entire presentation, there's a standardized view layout, which is great for the visually impaired students or students who struggle with that. Then I got to reading order, and I struck out. So when I tabbed through here, earlier it was showing me that I was going in a reverse order here. It was picking pictures first and then headlines, and I changed it around a little bit so you can see now it starts with the heading and it goes to the text and then it goes to the picture. So I fixed that a little bit as I went through there. I realized that this would screw up the assistive reading technologies that are available, so I wanted to make sure I fixed that so that as the kids were going, sort of trying to follow a step-by-step procedure here, they weren't getting screwed up. Like I said, it could be confusing for that. So I kept reading through the handbook, and I got to alternative text for images, and again I hit strike 2 here. There's no alternative text. Now I could say that I would be presenting this PowerPoint, so I could provide verbally my own alternative, but that doesn't bode well for somebody who might be looking at the PowerPoint asynchronously. They might be viewing it at home or something like that, and struggling to understand what the images are showing them. These images that are there, they're screen captures from the actual program, and there are no alternative text accompanying the images. So to be fair, the UDL guidelines, this is an opportunity to exercise Principles 1 and provide multiple means of representation by presenting information and content in different ways. The images can be viewed in the PowerPoint, and then the alternative text can be provided by me during the presentation. Already, though, it's clear that this PowerPoint is struggling to accommodate Tier 3 students, especially those who may be visually or hearing impaired. So, my issues already with the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint did redeem itself with its good use of bulleted and well-organized lists of information. You can see that there's good solid bullet points here. There's other slides where there's bullets, and then there are subsequent sub-lists that are well-defined and wrote out too. There were no links or tables in the PowerPoint, so these weren't issues, thankfully. Color was next, and I'll call it strike 2.5. There is a good contrast between the black on the white, but as you can see, like when I get in here to these pictures, there's a lot of color confusion. There's a lot going on with these pictures. So the piles of pictures sprinkled throughout the PowerPoint, lots of arrays of colors. The variety of colors could be distracting or confusing to colorblind students. What I also considered thinking of colorblind students was that at times for instruction, the instruction in the PowerPoint provides directions saying things like the object should become green. For a colorblind student or a visually impaired student, this could become an accessibility issue. It also became evident about now that this is a PowerPoint. A student with any vision impairment is going to struggle to see the presentation and need some sort of adaptive technology. And at the same time, a hearing impaired student could struggle to hear me present the presentation and need adaptive tech as well. So it seems that the best thing here would be to make the presentation asynchronous and allow all students to view the presentation using various accessibility tech at their own discretion. UDL lays out many options that could be used to help students access the presentation based on their individual needs, and these accommodations should be made on a student-by-student basis. The PowerPoint didn't contain any math, video, or audio, so there wasn't need to concern myself with how they laid out in there, but obviously, had they been there, that would have been a concern as well. I wanted to touch back on the software itself, because I think that the PowerPoint has its issues, but I think that it's going to become a challenge for the accessibility impaired students to use the software alone. I struggled really to see solutions to the mobility impairment section, especially. The software is difficult for students who might not be able to operate a mouse or might not be able to use the mouse and the keyboard at the same time. Using this software is going to be a huge battle for those students, not to mention the goal of the lesson is to learn the software. So, where Principle 2 says to provide multiple means of expressing understanding by differentiating the ways learners can express what they know, I mean, the ultimate goal here is to produce a drawing, to produce this single object. So, I think this is an issue in all of my tech ed area. A wood shop, you're producing a bookshelf, drafting, you're producing a drawing, so on and so forth. This becomes an issue for providing accessibility to students who can't do that. There's obviously plenty of means of engagement. I can show them a PowerPoint, I can show them how to do it, I can have them actually do it themselves, whatever. But at the end, the goal is to still create one object, and so that's where I struggle. I know I got off course with the PowerPoint a little bit, but I struggled as I looked at the UDL and I looked at the accessibility handbook here to analyze the software itself. The PowerPoint is a small portion, but if the overall idea of the class is this software, it definitely becomes an issue for these kids who might need assistive technology or accessibility options for them. So to circle back, the PowerPoint has its highs and it has its lows. I think there are some areas that could certainly be fixed, but I think it does do a good job of a good foundation of providing a PowerPoint that can be adapted as necessary for visually impaired or hearing impaired or motor impaired or anything like that. So thanks for listening. If you have any questions about my analysis, comment below and let me know. Thanks.